2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike, 26.2-mile run. Brag for the rest of your life. Show of hands. Anybody knows where that comes from? Go ahead.
Triathlon.
It comes from a triathlon, specifically the Ironman triathlon. And actually those words were written on the race instructions given to the 15 participants of the inaugural Ironman race back in 1978. Back in 1978, a gentleman in the United States Navy by the name of Commander John Collins was sitting around with a bunch of his fellow endurance athletes, and they were discussing who was the best athlete. Was it the swimmers, the bikers, or the runners? Let me correct. It wasn't they were discussing, they were probably really debating. So they decided to create a contest to settle this. They created a super race. And I'm not talking about a super race of people. I'm talking about a super endurance race that combined a swim, a run, and a bike. Does anyone know what inspired the 2.4-mile swim? Because that was inspired by an actual race that existed in Hawaii at the time. It was inspired by the Waikiki rough water, open water swim, which was 2.4 miles. To put that distance into perspective, that's 169 laps of a 25-yard pool. Anybody ever swim that far before? You can imagine how taxing that might be. And then once you're done that, you do 112 miles on a bike. And that was inspired by the Oahu, around Oahu bike race. And put that in perspective, that's as if you were to get on your bicycle at Sears Tower, or the Willis Tower, ride all the way through Illinois, all the way through Wisconsin, get to Milwaukee, and then go another 20 miles. And then once you're done that, you get off that damn bicycle, and then you start running, 26.2 miles. And that was inspired by the Honolulu Marathon. And if you can think back to the Peloponnesian War, back to when the Greeks were fighting the Persians at the Battle of the Marathon, when the Greeks beat the Persian Navy, and they sent that guy, Philippides, back to Athens to tell that the Greeks had won, and he goes, "I won?" What happened to him right after the race? Right after he ran back? He died. Now, it's not really funny that he died, but it's just to put into perspective how challenging this race is. And it's all meant to be done in under 17 hours. Now, every year, annually, all the best of the best get together back where the race originated in Kona, Hawaii, and they had the Ironman Championships. So I'm going to take you to 1997 Ironman World Championships. Two women, one by the name of Wendy Ingram, the other one by the name of Cyan Welch. Both championship athletes, both BHAGs, aiming to podium, coming in first, second, and third, and had very credible chance. So on this beautiful Hawaii day, they jump into the water. They're swimming, 2.4 miles. Then they get out. Then they ride their bike 112 miles. And then they get off their bike and they start running 26.199999 miles. This is where the story comes in. 100 feet from the finish line. 100 feet from their BHAG. Cyan Welch, her beautiful, beautiful stride goes from this to this. Her legs start to buckle. Her vision starts to blur. Her posture falls to the side. She takes a few more steps, and at 100 feet to her BHAG, she collapsed on the ground. She's sitting on the ground, dazed. And Wendy Ingram, who is maybe 10 feet behind her, as if she was a conjoined twin, catches up to Cyan, looks at her, and the exact same thing happens to her when she falls down against the ground as well. And the race, sidelines of the race are packed with people in awe and disbelief and shock. Can anybody guess, by a show of hands, what happened?
Can I have two guesses?
Go ahead.
So my first guess is that people wanted to help, but if you touch them, they're disqualified.
Okay.
My second guess is maybe they helped each other.
Any other guesses?
How about the air pressure? Some environmental factor.
The environmental factor actually happened inside of them, so that was very close. The term is called bonked. And a bonk is when the body loses its ability to function anymore. It runs out of the capacity to produce energy. They were literally at the end of their proverbial rope. They had no more energy left in the tank. But they still had their BHAG to achieve. So this is what they did. Wendy Ingram dug down deep inside of her and pulled out from deep within each it's pulled out something that's available to each and every one of us when we have our BHAG in our sight. She pulled out that internal energy. She transferred it onto her hands and knees. And then left hand, right knee. Right hand, left knee. Crawled the remaining distance to the finish line. Cyan followed immediately after. Both of them achieved their BHAG of finishing. Wendy came in third. Now this internal energy that both of them were able to muster in the absence of physical energy is accessible to each and every one of you if you keep your BHAG or your goals in your mind's eye. And it has to be so powerful that it can get you to do the things that you need to do in the absence of physical energy. And in the minutia of day-to-day work, day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, we can forget the whys and the whats that we're doing. But if we constantly remind ourselves and keep it in our mind's eye, we're able to harness that energy. And a very simple way to do that is you write out your BHAG, or one of them, on a big piece of paper and you put it on your bathroom window. Or you put it on your smartphone or a laptop or a netbook, somewhere that you can look at it each and every day and remind yourself. In my home, above my desk, I have a picture of Mount Everest, the United Nations, and a picture of a black belt. Those are my BHAGs, and those are what get me going each and every day. So the question is, what are yours?